For today, we'll be starting off by sharing the why. Okay, why do we adopt SLS as a one-stop hub? All right, so we'll be sharing on that first, and then we'll be sharing on what are our approaches in going across the implementation of SLS as a one-stop hub. And then after that, our approaches. So in this case here, we are having two strategies in terms of our approaches in the adopting of SLS, and then our use cases. We will also be sharing on the benefits as well as the challenges that we face, how we overcome them, and the plan moving forward. So just to share, to provide an understanding of why we adopt SLS, we need to share a little bit about school context for that matter. So first thing first, for digital literacy efforts, we actually came out with our own framework since 2020, known as Create, Curate, Connect. Now, if you look at these three words, you should remember that it somehow formed a resemblance to what was covered last year during the work plan seminar, where Min Chan said, every student, a creator, a connector, and a contributor. So in fact, we hit 2 out of the 3 back in 2020, all right? So in this case here, our whole idea over here is that we want our students to be future ready, to be able to use digital multimodal products to create digital artifacts. At the same time, being able to curate resources, meaning to say, we are able to identify the authenticity and the credibility and reliability of any information resources that you see online, all right? As well as, more importantly, now with the advent of all this technology coming fast and furious, especially now with AI coming in so fast, the more we need to talk about being human, the more we need to talk about being able to connect with one another, be it in face-to-face or be it in the virtual world. Next, we also want our students to be a technologically adept innovators. So that resulted in the design thinking mindset that we look at, and we say that we need to be very human. So we need to be very human in being able to be empathetic, to identify real needs that is under the real world. And then after that, you need to develop potential solutions, and that is why we talk about identify and then ideate, and then we diverge and converge in terms of coming out with potential solutions that we can test board all these solutions, and that comes to innovate. So with this, we ask ourselves a question: how are we going to do it? We want future-oriented digital learners. So how? Through 3 means. The first means through fostering collaboration, through building connections, and through inspiring creativity. And this is nothing new. In fact, based on what we have mentioned just now, we talk about our framework on Create, Curate, Connect, and digital literacy, as well as the design thinking kind of mindset. We really talk about being humans to be able to build connection. And we also want them to be able to collaborate, not just with their peers within their classroom, but also with peers across the cohort, and also with peers across schools as well. And we're even more bold and daring to say, let's collaborate with even people, not just students, but it can be experts from all over the world. And technology lends itself there. So with all this in mind, we started imagining. We envision what kind of an outcome we are looking at. In our next slide here, we imagine a classroom that is not defined by the boundaries of walls. That means to say, our classroom can be anywhere. It can be in real world, it can be in virtual. It doesn't matter. Next, we also imagine our students' attitude to be one that is full of curiosity, that they want to learn, they want to discover, and they are daring enough to be able to imagine and innovate. And next, L, learning experiences. So when we talk about them being one thing, that is intrinsic motivation, right? So when they want, that will bring about the kind of learning experiences that we can actually design in our whole program and curriculum as well to empower the students to pursue their personal interests. And that's where across school we have what we call the student-initiated learning in one form or another. All right, and last but not least, we also imagine lessons whereby students can curate and form their own path, and they are able to select based on their interests, based on their level of readiness of learning, and based on whatever kind of interest they want to pursue, be it a passion or be something that they are curious to find out about. So with all this in mind, we noticed that, hey, one potential solution can be SLS. Now, in this slide here, when we look at SLS, we see three common words across all, starting with COM. First one, common online platform. Now, to give a little bit of a context, now this year, 2024, is the very first year that we have transited one cohort of our students from Chromebook to iPad. So it means to say, I have 3 cohorts of Chromebooks and 1 cohort of iPad. So with 2 different OS across the PLDs, what does that imply? It means to say, hey, if I want to have the kind of ecosystem, where are my teachers going to design and park these resources? All right, so that brings to the question that we have things such as Google Drive. We also things from Microsoft 365, we have OneDrive. We also have what is in the intranet shared drive. And then moving onwards, we also have your collaboration, different kind of platforms, and so on and so forth. So the thing is this, I believe all of us here, we were led through the communication that there will be one point in time we need to reduce our storage in Icon. Everyone remember that? Correct? So because of that, we know we definitely need to move out of Google Drive somehow, one way or another, sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. But the question is, to where? Google Drive is very convenient for Chromebook because of the ecosystem. But for my iPad, can still do, but may not be the best. But what OneDrive? Since now we're going M365, then if we go M365, we put OneDrive, very good. We have all the storage we want. But there's something else out there that's even better, called SLS. Unlimited storage, right? At least that is what was told to us. So we say, hey, that will be one very good common platform. Regardless of the PLD OS system, we have something called SLS that we can park our resources, and it can still be retrievable, be it from the iPad or the Chromebook PLD. Next, it also offers a common language for us to formalize the terminology that we have been adopting. Now, all of us have been doing many things. I'm very sure all of us teachers have been doing many things that have been characterized and been named, but it's just a matter of a formalized structure. So SLS come up with 5 domains, which later we will talk about it in one slide. All right, the 5 domains. And in fact, what we have been doing has and can be parked in each of these domains. Then why not leverage on SLS then? So that was the question that we asked ourselves. And last but not least, SLS, as we all know, there's MOE Gallery. There's also a very strong network on SGLDC. All right, you also have the EdTech Leaders community, for example, so on and so forth. So with this, we know that we can actually tap on a very rich repertoire of resources. And the best thing is we do not need to reinvent the wheel because all the resources are out there. We just need to copy the resources and tailor it and accommodate it to the respective needs that is individualized to your school and tailor it to the student profile in your school as well. All right, so with this, next slide. And this jives in very nicely with a trilogy that we talk about. Because we are moving forward in terms of digital literacy, we are also looking at AI literacy. So in this case here, just to explain a little bit, we have this trilogy that we started playing with this first Chinese character that you see in the bracket. It's called I. I, we all know is love, right? We love. So in this case, we also, I, AI also means artificial intelligence. So we say, hey, I was Nan Chiau. I mean, Nan Chiau, we come from Nan Chiau High. We say, I was Nan Chiau. So AI. Hey, AI comes in very naturally as well. So we play around with that word. And then we come about, we're talking about, if we want to have the kind of infrastructure, we need to build a very safe, cyber secure environment. All right? And that is where we have all those efforts there. And at the same time, we want to strengthen digital literacy. We also want our students to be towards the frontier of what kind of technological developments and advancement they have out there as well, to explore, to experiment. It's perfectly fine. It's okay. All right? And that's where SLS comes in, because for teachers, we can leverage on EdTech for efficiency and effectiveness as well. All right? So with this, I'm going to move on to the second part. You have heard the why we adopted SLS as a one-stop hub. Then what are some of the key benefits? So in one slide, I try to encompass. Okay, there are many benefits out there, but because we tried this out for 1 year, and later on I will share with you the baby step we have taken, and we are currently sharing our very humbling experiences. Okay, so don't expect the wow, that kind of thing, but we are sharing our very baby step. Out of 5 domains, we started on 2 first, and the baby step. All right. So in this case, here's some of the benefits that we have with the improved resource organization. As I shared, because we have two different OSs, so it was a challenge. Put it on Google Drive or put it in OneDrive, because our concern was also that if we park it on OneDrive, years later, we do not know whether the OneDrive resources storage may be slashed as well, and we don't want to go through another pain point and process whereby we need to pump out all the resources and pump it elsewhere. All right, but we know SLS is here to stay. So why not use SLS as a common platform? And it actually facilitates a collaboration across departments, which we'll share later on as well, how we also use SLS as a form of professional development to create PD groups. All right, and later my colleague Doris will also be sharing with you later on how just yesterday we have our staff retreat, and we actually created the entire session. We designed it in an SLS format, and we let our staff go through the experiences as though they are students, to experience what kind of affordances that SLS can provide in this case here. Second point, it supports the streamlined communication. Later on, you'll see one particular domain, domain A, that inside SLS itself, there's a calendar. No need to remind students on what homework to submit. When is your next test coming up? You have no excuse about, I forgot my student planner, I forgot to write down. Everything pumped inside there. All right, so SLS have all these affordances as well. With this, I'm going to move on to the third part. So what was our strategy in this case here? Right, because no way I can go up to my teachers and say, hi everybody, today we are going to go SLS as a one-stop hub for everyone today. And then everyone like, what are you talking about? What is SLS as a one-stop hub? Right? So there are 5 domains. We have to make it palatable. We have to make it digestible. And we have to make it seem as though we have transited without them realizing they have transited. That is where we call the buy-in. All right? So I'm going to start with the first approach, domain-based approach. So with this, these are the 5 domains that we are looking at for SLS as a one-stop hub. All right? Our focus in 2024, for the first 3 quarters, for the first 3 terms of this year, we are a lot on domain A and domain B. I'll explain to you in the next slide why domain A, domain B first. All right? And what have we done for domain A and domain B. Okay? Then moving forward, we're also looking at domain C, domain D, domain E in the sense of expansion. All right, so our whole idea over here is very simple. Domain A, domain B as the foundation. Because it's the easiest for our teachers to get used to be able to explore and experiment without adding on to the workload. So that's our consideration. All right, so with this here, on our next slide. So in this case here, the question is then, how did we start off with domain A and domain B as the fundamentals? So first thing is we have our ICT champions, who are teachers, representative across each department. So what we do is that internally, ICT champion, we start thinking in each of these departments, establish the need. What are some of the platforms that you are really using, especially third-party app? So be it you are using MyMiester, be it you are using Nearport, be it you are using Canva or whatsoever, right? Can all these be accomplished and integrated into SLS? As a link or by embedding, for example. Okay, so we establish the need internally with the ICT champion as a committee first. Then thereafter, we also have a concurrent discussion with our KPs and our school leaders as well to have the kind of buy-in. Well, what are the needs? We're trying to meet your needs, okay? And then we have a win-win kind of situation. So with that, we made the transition, all right? And it was very timely because, as I mentioned, we had transited from Chromebook to iPad. Since we already have one transition, might as well let's transit all together. All right, so that's how we package it and we bundle it together, we transit together, and that's where we started resource building. So we started resource building in the sense that, for example, let's say for a particular department A, you have 4 levels, set 1 to set 4. So each level we have a coordinator. Each coordinator, together with our ICT champion, you curate the resources and then you pack it in SLS. So whichever teacher, you just add them to the class group, you have all the resources there. And that was very helpful actually, because when the teacher is absent and you need to deploy a relief teacher, we basically just get the relief teacher, access this resource, go and run. So that is all about what we mentioned about domain A. So you don't need to frantically print out everything from the SLS and then you pass it to a relief teacher or a flexi adjunct teacher for that matters. Okay, the second thing. So what are the support structure then? We actually implemented a support structure in the sense that we have our in-house workshop. All right, so we actually have one workshop on a sign-on basis and we conducted it twice. That means to say a repeated session. to accommodate to the different timetable and availability of our staff. And we make it on a sign-up basis. That means not compulsory. So it's two different kinds of workshop. One is a sign-up basis workshop. The other one is a school-wide workshop. So school-wide workshop is like what I mentioned yesterday, staff retreat. So yesterday's staff retreat, what we got them to do, we were talking about 8 KATs, key application of technology, for example. Okay, so for this kind of sign-up basis of workshop, we have one to bring them to introduction to EdTech pedagogical scaffold. And then we have another workshop to talk about designing or learning experiences using SLS. All right, so we have all these kind of bite-sized workshop, and each workshop is no more than 1.5 hours, because anything more than that cannot digest. So we make it 1.5 hours, short and sweet, but you get a hands-on. All right, so that was what we did. At the same time, moving forward, what we're going to do is we have actually started expanding, all right, as of term 4. And so moving forward, we are going to expand it. Now that we have the foundation with domain A and B, our teachers are now comfortable with using SLS, then we build up and we ramp up everyone's competency in SLS for that matter. All right, so over here during the white spaces, every white space, we will have a short bite-sized sharing, no more than 5 minutes. We'll share one feature of SLS. Right, so for example, in the most recent sharing, in 5 minutes, we share how to digitalize your partial exam paper using what we call the QTI converter in SLS. Convert everything, and then become an exam bank. Very fast, very smooth going as well. All right, so that is what we have here. So with this, these are the reasons. So the reason very simple. I'm going to just summarize this in a nutshell. All right, we come with the idea that we are all teachers here. We want to make it palatable. Nothing significantly different from what you've done. It's just a matter of where you store it, where you retrieve it, how you conduct your lesson. All right, so based on this aspect of things, we are able to ramp up all our teachers' competency. So if I were to borrow Abraham Maslow's conscious competence model, for example, our teacher might have first started off by unconscious incompetence, whereby we don't know what we don't know in SLS itself. Then now we know what we don't know, which is the next level, conscious incompetency in that sense. So we know next one, what we know what we don't know. That means to say you must first know the existence of all these features first. Then once you know the existence of this feature, then we go in and explore and experiment. And then we can push everyone to conscious competence. Right? So that is what we want. And then you want this to run in as really be ingrained into the culture, whereby we talk about enculturation for that matter. Then this whole process had to be automated and stabilized. So we're going to run this for 5-6 years. We're going to run it for 5-6 years, bite-size, baby step. Until everybody is comfortable, let's move, let's move, let's move. Every department can move at a different pace. Every teacher can move at a different pace. That's perfectly fine, right? That's all talk about lifelong learning anyway. Okay, so with this, I'm now going to hand over the time over to my next presenter, Doris, who will be sharing with you our second strategic approach for that and some use cases for our school. All right, with that, thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, so like what John said, we're just going to share our humbling experience of using SLS as our one-stop hub. We structured this timeline to build strong foundation and progressively increase our competency of teachers across this year and next year. So if you can see for our first portion, which is what we have been doing for this year, we actually wanted to build the foundational structure first. So we built department groups and Google tools are integrated seamlessly so that the user experience can be as smooth as possible. And then we are also thinking of conducting a stock take based on the teachers' SLS competencies. And then we would choose the top 3 that we want to focus on for the next year. And hopefully our ICT champions can create some workshops to target these 3 most wanted competencies that teachers want to tap on. We need to set up manually so that the students will be informed whenever there's a new resource or new assignment being assigned. If not, usually they need to click the bell for the notification to know that something is already up. Yeah, so when we do that, I think it will make the students' workflow better. Yeah, then our ICT champions will also train essential skills for our teachers on some of the more commonly used things like categorizing, tagging, and using sections for work instructions and consolidating homework. If you can see, we have this domain E that is parked right under. So that is really, really our baby step. We just had this yesterday during our staff retreat. So when SLS came down to our school for the conversation, that was when we were thinking, how can we expand beyond domains A and domains B? So they were saying, oh, why not you try looking at PD, which is domain E? And then we were like, oh, okay. So we tried something bold. We came up with the 8KAT lesson module, and we park all our teachers under one PD group. So what happens is, our intent was really for them to know about KAT. So each teacher was tagged to one particular KAT, and then we go deep into that. So for domain E, we really want to see, is it really possible for us to park our PD content nicely on SLS so that in future, when they want to do this design lesson planning for 2025, oh, okay, I have this 8 KATs that I can refer to, which is parked nicely in SLS. Because if you were to send the deck of slides to them, it might be lost in their laptop when they eventually want to find it. So with the student account, they just need to turn to the student account and see, okay, my 8 KATs are parked here nicely, let me try and see and refer, and let's start my lesson planning. So that was what we did yesterday. Okay, then the very last part, we were thinking of having a very short workshop for our teachers to learn how to create the 2-hour password to facilitate PTM. So why this thought? Because I believe parents also want to know what their kids are doing on SLS. Yeah, so with this in mind, having this 2-hour password for the parent to actually have a look at, oh, what is my kid doing during home-based learning days? Are they on task? Are they on track? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? Or what is the content on SLS? So I think that would facilitate the PTM well because of the direction that MOE is going. So the next portion is also we will want our ICT champions to level up our teachers' competencies in terms of lesson designing. So we are really going deep into the lesson design abilities to solidify our competencies as teachers. So like what John mentioned earlier, we have the domain-based approach. We also have the layered approach. Okay, so we have the 3 different layers here. The first one being the building strong foundations, which is what we started off with the domains A and domains B first. Then we're going to move on to the layer 2 to expand teachers' competencies in SLS. And then last but not least, we want to transform their skills. So as mentioned, forming department groups and integrating Google tools lays a solid foundation. So we are trying to, okay, because of how efficient SLS is in coming up with all the new features, sometimes it's very difficult to keep up if we don't go into SLS and see, hey, what is the new thing? And with all the things that we are doing, you really need the time to sit down and explore what does this new feature do and how does this new feature actually help in your lesson planning. So we tried something out this year. During school contact time, we tried to really just expose teachers to a new feature to see during this duration, what feature would be helpful for them. So during July, when it was the very tense period for O-level preparation, so we were actually thinking, oh, why not we try this QTI function, which is to convert our exam papers to SLS-friendly format for us to upload to SLS, and students can just try the papers via SLS. So feedback was very good because teachers who are keen, they really go ahead and try, and then they say, oh, it's actually very user-friendly because it's just throwing the paper onto the getmark.ai, which is recommended by SLS, and then it comes out very nicely, even with the diagrams and all. Yeah, so that is for the first layer. Second portion, the expansion of competencies in SLS, we are going into the department-focused implementations in Domain B. So what I mentioned earlier about the school contact time is that we try to find features that can be cross-subject, cross-department. Then if we go down to the specific features like short answer FA, FAEL, FA Math, we cannot be doing it during school contact time because then the people who are not interested will not be listening. So this is when the ICT champions come in and then they would go deep during the department-wide space. Yeah, so that is for layer 2. So we want to tailor their content creation to their needs. Then with the staff retreat opening the 8 KATs yesterday, right, we actually purposefully put 1 KAT to each person within the department. So there is an expert of a KAT within each department, so that hopefully next year when they go back to their department-wide space, every KAT will be mentioned, and every KAT will be actively being used in their lesson design and lesson planning. So the interest-based part, we are thinking of, we cannot force feed too much also, like we cannot force them to okay, this one you must learn. So we try to make it interest-based, which is the 8KT, the motivation part. So when they get motivated, they'll want to learn more, right? So yeah, we try to cater to interest-based workshops so they can just sign up based on their interest. Okay, then last but not least, the third layer, we try to introduce the differentiated and optional activities so that teachers will be equipped with the advanced differentiation methods for the diverse learners. And then also we hope that we can apply KAT at higher levels. Okay, so this layered approach actually gives us a sustainable step-by-step strategy for SLS to be used as the one-stop hub. Okay, so we're going to move on to the examples of how we have been using SLS this year and what are some of the things that we faced and what are our future plans moving forward. So if you can see, this is what we did this year. So for Domain A, it is focusing on the students portion. So if you can see the highlighted portion, which is the BCD 6, right? We purposefully named it as BCD 6 because we want students to know that this particular lesson is for this BCD day itself, our Beyond Classroom Day. So they know that, okay, this is for this day, we need to click onto this for our math assignment. So it comes in, okay, SLS is very invaluable in this case because students know that when it's Beyond Classroom Days, they're supposed to tap into SLS for all the assignments that is going to happen for that particular day. Then if you look at the right-hand side, we actually tried to map out the entire chapter in advance on SLS so that students actually know what is going to happen for the entire chapter moving forward. And they find it useful because they know what is going to happen. So if you were to look at the naming, right, the 6.3 linear functions part, you can see that there is the practice now 2, question 1, question 2. So even the offline activities that are not within SLS, we also park it in there so that the students know that, oh, this is the time where they need to transit over to their workbook. Yeah, so the entire chapter is really mapped out nicely for this Domain A portion. Okay, then next part. For Domain B, okay, this is something that is very useful, at least for me, because this is where we really build up TNL resources on SLS. So what happens is, I mean, home-based learning has been going on for years. And in the past, when we create resources, it is really just one teacher, you are assigned to create lesson package for this particular lesson on this BCD day. And then once you create, you park it in your drive, you share it with the other teachers copy to their drive, and then they assign to their students. I believe this is what we have been doing, right? And then if, let's say, for example, someone notices a mistake, and then it goes back to the editing. So it's either 8 teachers edit together or one person edit, and then we have to reshare, and then we have to reassign. So it is the whole process is really very daunting. Then moving forward next year, when we want to pass the resources down to the next batch of teachers, then we are like, who did that lesson for that chapter? I don't know. Then we restart doing it again. So when department group first came out this year, we were thinking, okay, let's try and see whether this department group can help. When we set up the department group, right, we actually parked so it is still a teacher do up the resource, but then, because it is part under the department group, right, all the other teachers teaching that same level can actually go in and have a look at the lesson and give comments. Then we are like, okay, I think this one needs more adding, needs to beef up a little bit. So that teacher can just go in and beef it up. Once everybody is okay with the lesson package, and then we go, okay, let's assign. So everything is parked nicely here. Then moving forward, when, let's say for 2024, we are done, when we go to 2025, this entire Sec 1 math teacher group can be, the new Sec 1 teachers can be added into this group, and they have the resources all readily there already. And if they want to beef it up, by all means, go ahead. Yeah, so it's really very useful. And for Sec 4 side, we try to put the learning responsibility to the students. So we like to upload solutions for them, video solutions for them to actually check their answers. So we actually have, the coordinator will set up the skeleton for the different questions under the activities. Teachers will upload their respective solutions recording into the different activities, and then the last teacher to upload the recording will say, okay, all done, let's assign. So it really makes the collaboration within the department very seamless, and it's nice. Okay, so this is for domain B. So the filing and organizing is really streamlined and more accessible than ever, and teachers now know that if I have something that I want to look for, I go to department room. Yeah, so this is for domain B. Okay, then moving on to domain C. So like what John mentioned, we really focus more on our A and B because we want to build the foundation of our teachers first. So then when we go on to domain C, which is what we shared about the getmark.ai to convert our papers to SLS friendly format, this conversion process was very smooth, and then I think teachers really enjoyed that part for those who actually tried. Then inter-school student groups, we actually did for our CCAs and competitions. So whatever resources that is required, we really pack in nicely inside so that students know that, okay, this is where I need to retrieve my materials or information from. Then for domain E, why we choose to have SLS as our platform to store our PD slides is like what I mentioned earlier. If we were to just send email after emails, it really gets lost in the teacher's laptop unless these teachers have super organizing skills. So, and with all the things that we are doing, sometimes it really just goes missing. And then we are like, hey, where is that 8KD that we were doing that day? I cannot find. So now is, let's go to SLS and switch to student account. It's there. Yeah, so I think it serves as a very good repository for teachers to actually go back to it when they want to find resources that they want to look out for. This is what we did yesterday. The 8A to H is really the 8 KATs. So let me just briefly tell you what was the thought process when we came up with this module. We want the teachers to go through the experience of how we design and how they are using it as a student. So initially we were thinking, should we assign it way before the staff retreat so that the teachers will go into SLS and then read the materials, which is the activity 1 and 2, before we ask them to do the quiz when they come for the staff retreat. But then we were thinking, teachers busy, right? Don't know whether they want to go into SLS, switch to student account over the weekends to go and read. So we were like, okay, let's simplify this. Let's also introduce this printer-friendly worksheet feature that SLS has. So we actually did that for our activity 1 and 2. And then we parked that into a Google Drive. So the teachers just go into the Google Drive and retrieve the reading materials before they come for the staff retreat yesterday. So when they came, our very, very short briefing was, okay, can you log into SLS, go to student account, you will have a lesson assigned to you already. You're supposed to do the quiz. So this quiz, okay, so for the 8 KATs, 3 of the KATs was, I found a 3 KATs lesson plan on SLS itself. So I just star it and then I added it into my module. Then I just beef out the other 5 KATs within it. Then for the quiz portion, I actually used the authoring copilot, which we also mentioned during the consolidation yesterday, to let the teachers know that there is this thing called authoring copilot that we can tap on to create questions. Then after which, you can see the log sign under case study, right? So we also park a prerequisite. They have to complete the quiz first before the case study will be open to them. So within that staff retreat, even though our intent was for them to learn about the 8 KATs, I think we somehow also managed to slot in some of the key features that we want them to learn about SLS. Yeah, so that was the whole lesson design planning that was ongoing in our head when we came up with this module for them yesterday. We also tried using the classroom observation portion under domain E. So I added my RO to my lesson package. Okay, but I can't add her into my lesson package. I have to add her to my whole class group. But which it also serves the intent of wanting our KPs to be within our class group to see what is happening and to actually collect data from our class to do whatever analysis that has to happen at their level. So this portion with our ROs being added as the observer, I think it makes the process of the lesson planning pre and post observation to be more valuable, because we can really go straight into the SLS and see and say, comment things like, oh, I think this portion maybe we can do something different. So it is really revolving a lot around SLS. Yeah, so with that, I think we did try taking baby steps into the other domains other than just A and B. Moving forward, we want SLS as a centralized platform for teaching, learning, and professional development. By focusing initially on domains A and B, I think we have a solid foundation to ensure that the teachers have the tools and support to feel confident and empowered when using SLS. It sets the groundwork and it allows us to gradually expand slowly to the different domains C, D, and E, which actually opens up new avenues for student-centered learning and data-driven reviews. Then with new system, okay, it's not new lah, but some teachers are still not very comfortable with using SLS yet. So the different pacing of the teachers made the adopting to SLS, there's this period of adjustment that we need to cater to. So with that, ICT champions will come in very timely, because this is when we go targeted into the department groups, and they would then cater to the teachers' needs, like what do you need help in? Do you need me to go through step by step with you? So ICT champions really target very department focused. Okay, then addressing limitations of the subtle tools and consistent platform integration. I think there are certain things that, so let's say for the lesson planner, because and the relief teaching, so like what John mentioned about it's very easy for the relief teachers to come in, but also I think different schools have different workflows with regards to the relief teaching and lesson timetable format. I think there's a lot of workaround that we need to do with regards to SLS. But of course, with the timetabling coming in onto SLS, when the students know, oh, okay, there is this quiz coming up, there is this test coming up, it really gives the student a very good user experience on their end. So looking forward, the benefits of SLS adoption are more evident, and I think the greater collaboration really makes the resource management more streamlined, and teachers know that this is a supportive space that they can turn to whenever they need resources or whenever they need help in collaborating. And not to mention, of course, the community gallery, which has so many resources available. Yeah, so with that, SLS has helped bring that vision to life, and we are excited to continue building on the foundations to make our TNL more cohesive, connected, and forward-looking for everyone. So with that, I am done with my sharing. So thank you.